What we're dealing with here are three memos. The first of which was issued right on Inauguration Day, January 20th, by then Acting Secretary Pekoske at DHS, and it was pretty much three main purposes. One was to review the policies and practices of the immigration wing of arm of the Department of Homeland Security. It was to set up these interim enforcement priorities, which pretty much mirror what we see in the final memo. And then it was my favorite, an immediate suspension of all removals for 100 days, right then and there on day one of the administration. That's what the president wanted to do through the secretary. This was followed very closely on February 18th by a memo from the acting ICE director, who's still the acting ICE director, which provided interim guidance setting out the priority categories, essentially following along with what the Pekoske memo had outlined. But the important part there is that it created this presumption that if you weren't in the priority category, you were essentially outside of it and therefore not a priority for an enforcement action. You were not, therefore, subject to an enforcement action. This resulted, as both Texas and Louisiana pointed out in this lawsuit, in numerous detainers being rescinded, the refusal of DHS and ICE to take custody of criminal aliens throughout the country, including the refusal of ICE to take custody and to actually effect final removal orders for aliens who had those removal orders issued by an immigration judge. So you've got essentially, at that point, lawlessness. You've got the INA, the Immigration Nationality Act, just being largely ignored by the enforcement wing of the Department of Homeland Security that is charged with carrying out the immigration enforcement activities of this country. What else they're doing in enforcement removal operations, I do not know. But that is what they're supposed to be doing, but this memo is preventing them from doing that. Then we have the final priority memo of September 30th. This was issued by Secretary Mayorkas, finalizing those essentially original interim priorities of border security, again, national security, public safety. But this one also creates, in that narrowed category of public safety, where mainly aggravated felonies, which is not a term of art, it's a legally defined term, takes a narrowed category of criminal aliens, but also creates a non-exhaustive list of mitigating factors that law enforcement, ICE, has to use to consider when moving forward with an enforcement action. So it's not just you've committed a crime and therefore you are being placed into removal proceedings, you're being set up for removal, whatever. We have to look at a litany of factors to determine whether you should be subject to removal proceedings. Again, that has to be reviewed by several levels of people in order for that decision to be made. It's absolutely absurd.